Welcome to Michael's Sleep Well channel, the podcast where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. I'm your host, Schofield. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight, Maria will be reading our retelling of a folk tale about how the darkness of night came to be. There are many versions of this story from Africa and Brazil. It begins a very long time ago in a place where the sun shone brightly at all hours, and the people knew only daytime. In the end, thanks to love, cleverness, and a dose of human error, nighttime became a restful part of life. Make sure you're nice and comfortable in bed, settling into whatever position feels best right now, and gently letting your muscles relax and your head and neck sink into the soft, supportive pillow. Take a moment to just check in with yourself, sensing any niggling thoughts or worries, any emotions perhaps that stand out to you at this moment, and any physical tensions or aches in the body. Take some deep, nourishing breaths, and as you do, just acknowledge whatever you might be feeling right now. Accept its presence in your body or your mind, but know that now is the time to rest and to let go. Life brings all of us a great number of challenges, emotions, and feelings every single day. Though we all strive to be as content and happy as we can, it's unrealistic to expect that we'll never find things difficult or experience lower moments. It's just part of being human. So in this moment, just accept things as they are. Let go of any desire or strain to change things. Simply allow yourself to accept and to rest. Take one more deep breath in and calmly release the air back out before returning to your natural rhythm of breath. Now that you're making your way towards sleep, I'll hand over to Maria for our story. We're going back in time, a long way back. The world was new when the light of day and the darkness of night did not cross paths. A very long time ago, when gods and goddesses shared the earth with animals and people, there was no such thing as day or night. This doesn't mean there was no difference between light and darkness, but the two could not be found in the same place. On land, the day was eternal. The sand shone brilliantly all the time. Both people and animals lived on the land, and they never slept. Darkness had its place deep in the waters of the ocean, in the murky canyons and coral reefs. Under the water, marine life thrived in glorious color. The fish and other creatures beneath the seas did not need sunlight in order to live happily. In fact, they enjoyed the darkness and peace they were used to having in the cool tranquility of the ocean. In the marine world, all creatures were ruled by the Serpent King. Because of his wisdom, the timeless patterns of the ocean kept their rhythm, and the cycle of life always continued as it was meant to. He did not trouble the sunlit people on the land. They took only what they needed from the sea to survive. So it was that the darkness and the light lived side by side and never traded places. The darkness was bound to the water, and the light was bound to the land. The Serpent King had a daughter whose beauty was famous, even beyond the riches of his kingdom. One day, the Land King heard of the beauty of the Serpent Princess and vowed to seek her hand in marriage. He rowed his boat very far out from the shore, taking a bag of sparkling jewels that could only be found in the earth. The Land King hoped that this gift of precious stones would win him favor with the Serpent Princess and her father. When he could hardly see the shore anymore, and he was over a very deep part of the water, the Land King opened up his bag of treasures and dropped them into the water one by one. The sparkling earth gems tumbled down, down, down into the Serpent King's domain, and he was very impressed. With his permission, the Serpent Princess swam up to the Land King's boat to thank him for the gift. The Land King could see that her beauty had not been exaggerated. She had long, flowing hair and eyes that were blue and green like the ocean. She was more lovely than any woman he'd known. The Serpent Princess was also quite taken with the Land King. He had a handsome face and brown eyes that were like the earth. She fell in love with him and agreed to be his wife. The Serpent King was sad to see his daughter leave the ocean, but he thought this man was worthy of her. He gave his blessing for her to marry the Land King and live with him at his palace in the sunlight. Their marriage took place at the shoreline, where the rushing water met the warm, dry sand. The creatures who lived in the ocean watched from the colorful coral reefs. Dolphins splashed through the waters in celebration. From the beach, the hummingbirds and parrots called out in honor of the new queen. The majestic jaguars watched in approving silence. When the wedding had ended, the Land King escorted his ocean bride through the lush green jungle to his sun-drenched palace. Along the way, the queen was in awe of the wildlife in this world of light. Monkeys swam cheerfully through the treetops, and sloths watched curiously from the tree branches. Anteaters and armadillos crawled along the ground. The queen was enchanted by everyone who lived in her dazzling new home. The king was a kind and fair man. At first, the new queen was very happy living with him in his majestic home. The palace had been built to worship the sun. It had high-arched windows and white verandas, letting light in from all sides. The golden stone of the walls and floors held the warmth of the sun's rays and reflected its brightness. It was a house with no shadows. But as time went on, the never-ending brightness of her new world began to tire the queen. Until now, she had spent her entire life floating in the cool darkness of the sea. But now the color slowly began to fade from her cheeks, as if she was being bleached by the sun. The sun of the land creatures seemed to dry and fade her brilliance. Although she did not complain, her husband noticed her decline with great concern. He asked her what he could do to make her happy. "I long for the darkness," she said. "I need to leave this daylight, even just for a short time. If only the sun would disappear for a while, I could rest." The king was distressed by this problem and summoned his wise men to give him advice. "You cannot banish the sun," the wise men said, "so you must fetch some darkness from the ocean and bring it to her. There is none to be found here on the land." This was a very good solution. The king gathered his 3 most faithful servants. He gave them a large, empty cloth bag and a sack of sparkling jewels. "Go to the shore where my bride and I were married," he told them. "Then row the boat out very far until the water is deep and you can barely see the shore. When you reach that place, open the bag of jewels and empty it into the ocean. The Serpent King will come to you, and you can ask him to fill your bag with some darkness for his daughter." The servants nodded in agreement, but the king gave them a warning. "When you have the bag of darkness, do not open it," he said. "Come back to the shore and bring the bag through the jungle and straight to the queen. It is very important that you follow my instructions." Again, the servants agreed. They took the jewels and the empty cloth bag and set off for the shore. Soon the Serpent King emerged. "I am sorry to hear of my daughter's sadness," the Serpent King said. "I will fill this bag and bring it back to you. Wait here. Take this back to my daughter so that she may rest," he said. "But do not open it. This is very important." The servants nodded in agreement and began the journey back. But curiosity got the better of them. When the bag began to move and make noises, they accidentally loosened the knot. A dark cloud drifted from the bag and escaped, eventually spreading across the land. Meanwhile, the queen in her bed felt a shadow cast around her. As the twilight arrived, she felt immense relief and finally fell into a deep and peaceful sleep. When the servants arrived, they confessed to the king. Though they had disobeyed, something beautiful had happened. The darkness brought new life, night animals, shade-loving plants and peace. People learned to rest, to dream. The queen's beauty returned, and every evening she welcomed twilight with gratitude. And that is how the night came to be.